What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Leveled Up Life podcast. Branamier, Courtney, here with my main man, Paul McClain.
Let's go, baby.
Good to see you, bro. Trying to help you level up your life in all the areas that matter most: faith, family, fitness, finance, franchise. I'm going to love this podcast because, dude, we're talking about all of them. Like, typically, we're just focusing on one and go deep.
Yeah.
But, dude, we got a lot of questions from people listening online, and so we're gonna sprinkle it all over today, man. And so I'm excited to dive into these questions.
And this is raw and authentic because I was like, bro, I don't want to look at him. I don't want to say. I'm looking at him now because we're gonna ask him, but we're gonna pick. And Brand doesn't know which one I'm gonna ask him. He doesn't know. I don't know which one he's gonna ask me. So it's gonna be good. So you might hear a lot more like hesitation. We're thinking. Want to make sure we give you the right answer and feedback. But hey, our desire, like Brand says, every week to provide great value to you, where you leave better than you came. Right? Where you're like, all right, I know where to step, how to step. I've got new lenses on. I can kind of see things differently, and that's the goal. And so let's jump into it.
What I like more than anything is I don't feel like I have the answer for everything, but I am willing to have the conversation about finding the answer.
Amen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we're not posturing ourselves as we know 100%, but we're willing to have the conversation and figure it out together. So let's get into it, man.
Yeah. One thing I do know is I don't know a lot.
That's right.
We're doing a study right now. It's like, dude, the more I get into something, like anything, you realize like, there's so much I don't know, right? And if 100%. You're a parent, you know that's like, all right, once I get to like age 7, then I'm gonna get it. It's like now you get to age 7, 17, you're like, dude, I don't know a whole lot. There's a whole lot more to learn.
It's like maturity in anything is realizing you don't know anything about the subject.
That's true.
It's like, especially when it comes to faith.
We're already preaching, bro. I didn't even ask you a question yet. All right, so let's get into the first question. It's how do you handle doubts or seasons where you feel disconnected from God?
Woo! Starting out strong. How do you handle doubts? That's a great question, number one. I think we all have doubts. Mm-hmm. And so to act like we don't doubt anything, I think is just the wrong approach. Immediately my mind goes like Proverbs 3, like trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. So like, I think for me, it's understanding that there's certain things that I'm not going to know. There's certain things that I'm not going to have answers for, right? I think that's where we get frustrated a lot of times as leaders, as a pastor, as parents, is like we try to have an answer for everything, but there's some things that we just don't have an answer for. And so what do we do when we have a doubt? What do we do when we don't have an answer? Well, you got to trust. Yeah. And there's just certain things on this side of eternity I think we're not going to have answers for, or why certain things happened. Or I think it's impossible to be disconnected from God. I think that we can feel far from him, but again, we don't live by feeling. We live by faith. And I think God is always as close to us as we want him to be, you know? And so if there's a disconnection from God, I know internally, just because my faith has been grown over time, it's me, not him. It's not him not pursuing me. It's me not pursuing him. And so for me, man, I gotta rely on what I know in his word. I got to rely on not my experience or even what I see in the natural, but like have enough trust in like who I know him to be, that it's all going to work together. You know what I mean? Yeah. Dude, that's a deep one, bro.
It is, man. But I love what you're saying, dude. I think that sometimes we let our doubt, or because we have doubt, we almost feel like shame, like I shouldn't doubt. It's like, no, man, like it would be weird not to doubt. I mean, I think for me, I've always kind of taken that approach of like, well, let's unpack that more. And I think as you get closer to God, doubt gets further away, right? Yeah. You start to realize that, you know, he is good and faithful. And I mean, you helped me with that a while back. You're like, dude, I was like, what if I was doubting the decision I was making, right? Yeah. I was doubting like, what if this isn't what God's, wants for me? And you're like, dude, if you just make the decision and you're trusting God, he'll make it the right decision. Yeah, that's right? What he wants from you. Yeah. Regardless of the outcome. It's your heart, right?
100%.
And I think that was such a freeing thing. And I think the opposite of doubt is trust. And in trust, man, there's so much freedom, right? Because it's just like, now I don't have to be wondering, am I making the right decision, the right choice? Is this what God wants from me? It's like, no, if I trust God, I'm going to go to make a quick decision and like God's got my back. He's going to see me through it. Yeah. But I think too often times, and I've gotten into this state where it's like I'm overthinking over something. Like I'm just like, it's got to be the choice, the right decision. It's like, dude, you never know if it's going to be good or bad either way. Yeah. Right. It's like, you don't know. Like you can say, well, I wish I would have done this. Well, what if you would have done that in that career choice, but that would have led you to disconnect as a parent because you've been so tied up traveling so much more, and then your kid, like, you just don't know. Right. And I think that's a freeing thing too, is like, you never know. Like, what if you left the house? I think it's as simple as like you leaving the house 5 minutes early sometimes can change the whole trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what conversation you're going to have now that you didn't have because you're at Starbucks 5 minutes early. It's so deep. It's like, we're just called to trust God.
Well, I think there's a scripture in the Bible about Jesus saying, like, my sheep will know my voice, and like they'll come to me, and like I am the gate, he says, and like my sheep will come and go freely.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like we have freedom to make decisions, right? And so like what you're saying, the point is not, did I make the right or wrong decision? Like, I'm doubting, like, do I go left or right? The point is, like, we came to him, we have trust in him, and then we can come and go freely because our dependence is not on our ability, right? Our dependence is on him to help us navigate whatever situation, right? Do we stay or go, left or right? It's like, just pick one and trust that God's going to be in that. That's always how I've navigated.
And you're not in control.
Right.
Like let go a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you're not in control. God's got it. He's got the whole world in his hand. He's working it all together. And so I think that for me, I just feel like if I'm disconnected from God, a lot of times I'm overthinking stuff as if I have control over things. Like it's up to me.
Right.
I feel more connected with God where I'm like, I don't have control over really anything. It's all his. And so that's where I feel like I get more of that connection, oneness with God, is like I replace that doubt with faith that I don't have control over all this stuff. So let me just look forward with expectation that it's going to be blessed. God's going to come through and he's got me.
Well, also, I think most people feel like their relationship with God has to be like, like my relationship with God is only when I read my Bible in the morning or only when I pray. But it's like, no, God uses people, God uses places, God uses situations. Like, that's also part of your relationship with God. You know what I mean? Like, you can come out of a church service or out of a meeting or out of a dinner and be like, dude, I felt the presence of God. Not because like you've heard from God, but just like you felt like peace or joy or happiness. Like, dude, that's growing your relationship with God. So just reminding yourself, like, it's not just the 20 minutes in the morning when you're reading your word.
That's good.
Like, he's in everything. So if you're feeling disconnected, just remind yourself that he's everywhere at all time. All right, here's a good one for you. How do you balance faith with ambition and business success? I think, looking at the landscape of my life and the people that I know, and just even social media, man, a lot of people have these two different, like, they're in two different lanes. Like, I'm ambitious in business and I got my faith on the side, and you don't really see a lot of crossover. But I think recently you're starting to see more crossover when it comes to faith, business, ambition, family. Like, it's starting to all be intertwined. And I think this is why this podcast is like, it's a God thing, because we weren't trying to catch a trend. Like, we were just living our life,
Right.
And but you're starting to see it more now. And I don't think there's anyone I've seen do it better as far as like, it's out there. Like, it's not like you're not like a in the closet Christian, like in the business world. Like, everyone knows, dude, oh, that Paul guy, he's about his faith, he's about his family, he's about like his business, And so how would you balance, man, I got faith, I'm trying to live a righteous life, I'm trying to be the best Christian that I know how to be, but also, dude, I'm trying to be like a killer in business. I'm trying to grow something. I'm trying to like, build wealth for my family and for those around me. How do you balance that?
Well, dude, I think, for one, it's a great question. For me, it's like the faith is a foundation to every part of my life, including the business. It's the root cause of how I live my life. And so, I would be denying myself if I was denying my faith in the conversations, communication, and how I built my business. And so, when I go to build my business, I go to my faith. If it's like, how do I build my business? I go to the Word, right? And I mean, there's different books that I've studied that have helped me with business strategy, help with building culture in business, how to develop systems and strategies within the business, how to put standards, all that kind of stuff. But those books all come from the book, right? Like, they just kind of will unpack a certain scripture or what have you, a truth that God has already put out to do that. And to me, man, like God, see, I think that the Christian, if we're saying the Christian population gets it wrong, is that God wants you to be passive. God doesn't want you to be passive. Like, I feel like too many Christians are like, they won't go all in and be ambitious in business, and they'll have a bad show out. Like I think about like if we're promoting for a conference, right? We're gonna do some sales training, and then the person's like, "Well, God didn't want a big conference." It's like, no, God wanted you to get off your butt and like do a better job and understand how to do that at a higher level. That wasn't God's plan. He wants you to be excellent and to give him glory through the excellence that you bring through your business and the areas of your life. And so I think passive Christianity is something that is kind of riddled through a lot of different that congregation and that population. And I think it's a fallacy. I think God wants you to go out there and have the highest level of success. Well, why? Well, it's because if your faith is deep rooted, man, you got God working through you because you know where you're going to point and that it was him, right? There's nothing about my business that's ever been successful that was because of my own accord. In fact, if I look back, I'm like, I don't even know how that happened because I know me and I'm an idiot. Like I don't have the skills and I don't know how that, but God was the one that came through, right? Because I trusted him in the whole process. And so I think that, it's got to be, for me, it's not one or the other. I think that I want to be great in everything I'm doing, ambitious in everything I'm doing, because I want to also point to God and give him the glory. So somebody says, man, how did you do that? How did you get through that season with Parker? How did you build that business? How did you transition? It's like, well, let me tell you how I did it. And it's not just this fake humility. It's the real, like I know my background. I know my past. I know how I was raised. I know, the opportunities that kind of showed up. And I know that if it wasn't for God, that wouldn't be there, right? Yeah. And so I don't know if that's a good answer.
No,
but
dude, that's great. I think because everyone has, like, we've all been given a measure of faith. We've all been given different skills, talents, abilities. And so, like, it's not that you or me or anyone else is trying to measure up to someone else's potential. Like, we're just trying to live up to our potential, right? And so what is the fullness of life that God's given you? And so I think that many Christians are, like you said, passive, right? But if you look at Scripture, if you look at the words, like we're called to live an abundant life, like exceedingly abundantly above, like this Zoe life, this more than enough life. Like he wants his house full, like regarding heaven, like he wants it full. He don't want a little bit of people. Yeah. He wants a lot of people. That's why he's patient and waiting for us to like go out and evangelize and preach the gospel. And I think that once we have this understanding that, man, everything I do, if I choose, can point back to God, right? When it comes to my marriage, my family, my business, my ambition, my hustle, whatever you want to call it. Like if you have the goal of growing to be on yourself, well, then it all hinges on you. And the reality is like we're all broken people. And so if you're getting all the glory, which is not what you were made to do, like eventually it's going to tear you down, right? Yeah. When you build it on you, like we weren't designed to receive praise. That's why you see so many famous people fall, because they're getting praise as if they were God. And your spirit can't handle it. Yeah, dude, I got to make this point, bro. So like I'm competitive. Yeah. You're competitive. Like that's the one thing. Like, we love each other, bro. Yeah. If there's a competition going on, bro. If there's all of a sudden words start changing and everything else. But like when I got into business, dude, like it was about me. Yeah. It was like, dude, I want to go out and be the top of the leaderboard. I want to go out there and be able to have this, do this. It was about me. And it wasn't about like a platform to help other people, serve other people. In the beginning, I was 19. It was like, how can I recruit somebody because they're going to allow me to go out there and build my business. It was me. And the faith was the activator. If I look at the years that we had the greatest growth in the business took off, it was because it wasn't about me. It was, I want to go out there and bring people on board into an environment where I can help watch their family's life succeed financially, where I could talk to them about the Word of God. They could see our culture, not just hear it, but they could witness like how we run this business, how we run it with the foundation of faith, and how we've got morals, ethics, and values that we embody. It's a part of our DNA is to serve people, to love people, to give back to people, to help other people get what they want. It's not about what we want. And when that shift took place, the faith is a catalyst. The faith is the activator to go out there and see supernatural growth. And so when it's all about you, man, it's short-lived. People will kind of feel that. So when it comes to somebody that, it's like paradoxical. If you want to go out there and create a massive business and create great wealth, you think, man, I got to be driven. I got to go after it. It's got to be me to go get it. And that's where I think
culture thinks that's ambition. Look at that person, they're ambitious. Well, the truth is it's the person that says, it ain't about me. Let me go out there, serve, give back, and lead these people from a place of faith. And it's not about me. That's where that supernatural blessing takes place, where all of a sudden your business is growing and it's thriving. So I think it's got to be the right placed ambition as well.
That's good, dude. I love it. It's the whole saying, like, people don't know how, what is it? The people don't know how much you...
Oh, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Know how much you care. And it's about serving people. And I think once you mature, and obviously, like, there's different stages of life. Like, when you're 19, when I was 19, like, dude, we didn't know better. So it's, like, all about us. Like, what can we get? But as you mature and you grow and you learn from those ahead of you, and the sad part is some people never learn that lesson. It's always about them until they have to learn a harder lesson, and hopefully they can see the bigger picture. But I'm thankful, man, that we've learned that lesson probably later in our 20s.
Well, yeah, I still learn every once in a while. It's hard. You're like, sometimes it's like the ambition can be rooted wrong.
I got a good one, bro. Little bit of a transition, but I think this is something that me and you could both probably speak into pretty good. And it's what's the best way? Switching to family and relationships a little bit. What's the best way to lead your family spiritually? I know for me, I got 4 kids. We just said you're competitive, so you got 5. And bro, you're trying to one up me. Maybe you look for 6. Who knows what's gonna happen in your house, bro?
Let's go, dude.
But what's the best way to lead your family spiritually? This is something that I don't know if there's one answer to it, but this is something that we've been on this journey for the last probably 12 years now.
Yeah.
As I've had, Bronx, my oldest son, he's turning 12 at the end of this year. You got Peyton, who's about to go off to college, dude, which is insane. And then all the little ones behind him. And this is something that we've been growing in ourselves, how to lead ourselves spiritually. Because it's one thing to lead yourself, but then when you have a wife and kid, like we're called to lead them spiritually. And something that I've been learning as a father is like, it's not about what I say. Like I could preach every Sunday and to thousands of people, but man, if I'm not leading them, like it's just lip service, you know what I mean? And like my number one ministry is my family.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times, like I even feel convicted a little bit because, dude, I'll do so much for the church, and I'll spend 30 hours every single week prepping a sermon to deliver to people that I may not ever talk to, but yet, like, dude, I didn't spend like that week 30 minutes doing a sermon for my kids. You know what I mean? And so it's something that I wrestle with. Like, dude, I got my number one, disciples are the kids that bear my last name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're my legacy, not the church or not a business. And so it's something that I've, not wrestling with, but just like it's on the top of my mind. Like I got to disciple them. I got to pour into them. I got to lead them spiritually. I got to show them what it looks like to get in the word, pray, like walk through navigating situations. And I know you've done the same thing. So talk a little bit about like what's your journey been like leading not only Natasha, right, and Mariah for me, but like our kids spiritually and our family.
Well, I think you said it right, dude. It's leadership by example, and I think it's so easy to know the right words to say, but then not interrogate a reality and say, "What life am I showing?
Yeah.
What example am I showing?" And dude, I've gotten there a lot where it's like you start to get distracted on the things that matter least, opposed to prioritizing the things that matter most. Right? It's like it, but then you just get caught up in the motions. Like you just kind of go to work, you give it your all, maybe there, and then you get back in the door, and you're like, I kind of just need a little break or check out. And it's like, man, your priority, number one priority is waiting there to get fed, to see an example. And I've done that many times. This isn't like, hey, I used to do it in my 20s. I don't do it at all now. Like there's seasons where I still get caught up depending on what my plate looks like, where I'm overwhelmed. And so I try to put in disciplines to really kind of like make sure that I can flip that switch, right? Because it's hard to do it if you're just like going to try to remember like, all right, now I'm present. And so there's certain things that we've done with like Peyton for a long time where the money that we give, for instance, it's not based off chores. It's based off of her growing really spiritually. So we have like a gratitude journal that's going to help her grow spiritually. She's entering her day with thanksgiving, right? She's thanking God and put in this place that like he gets the glory. And so she's always gotten paid for how many gratitude entries she does each week. Now Parker does as well.
When did you start that? Like what age?
I started that when she was, I think 9 or 10. I started when I thought about it.
Yeah.
But it was, hey, if you want to get your first car, the way I said it was, I'm going to give you this money each week. And then once you get to 16 and you're going to go get your car, I'm going to double what that is as well. So I'll put a 2x on it once you get to 16. And so even books, like she has to, she reads a book. She doesn't have to do it. She don't have to get paid either.
Right.
But she'll read a book, and they're personal development books that have faith in it, whether that's the Energy Bus, John Gordon, some of his stuff. So that's a way to kind of help let them, from one, my example, I think, is first and foremost. The second thing is making sure that they're doing certain things that will help them really grab onto that example, things that are validating, where it's not just what dad says or what dad does, but also reading things that are also going to come alongside her and say, no, this is the way you should live. And so the books that she has, so it's books, it's gratitude, and then podcasts. So like each week I'll shoot on Sunday 2 podcasts, and she could do more than 2, but like just 2 that I want to share. And then I'll share them with Penelope now and Parker, and they're just like age appropriate. John Gordon's got a lot of good stuff on it. And the reality is, like, do they listen every week? No, but they don't get paid every week either. Like paying. The funny thing is, dude, right before this podcast, she's like, "Dad, I got to get my hair done." Did you hear that when I was talking to her? And she's like, I got $150 from Christmas money, and if you could just transfer it over, because I Venmo to her, and I write it off, by the way, too. That's a whole other topic as far as what you could do with taxes. But she's like, can you Venmo me? I'll give you the $150 cash. I'm like, why? Like, you're that broke?
Right.
And I realized that she hasn't read her book in the last like 2-3 weeks. And now she wants to get her hair done. I'm like, sorry. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing too.
How strict are you with that?
I'm strict. Yeah. Like I was like, if you want to get your hair done, then you better go like figure out who else is going to give you money, because I'm not going to do it. Or I'll get, and I have done it where I'll say I'll borrow, lend you money, but there'll be 10% interest on it. And so when you get the money next week, I'm deducting the 10% from the money I gave you. But the reality is, like, I'm trying to lead them in what life's going to show them. And so, man, I think that's the biggest thing, and it's tough, man. Like, I remember the day I walked in and Tosh is, the kids are yelling, and she's like, "Stop yelling!" And I was like, "Babe, like, they hear you say stop yelling, but you're actually yelling, And that's our life, right? That's a difficult thing. We always know what to do, but it's checking ourselves on what we're doing. Last thing I'd say, that it's like, a lot of times, I have to stop and pause and say, like, what example am I showing? Like, even with all the words that I communicate with my spouse and how I'm doing it, like, it takes a high level of intentionality, because it's like, even with my daughters, like, to lead them spiritually, like, hey, I'm called to treat and love my wife like Christ loves the church. And do I do that all the time? No, not all the time. No, and that doesn't mean like the person, you don't have to, you're not emotionally or abusive, but it's not, don't be emotionally abusive. If you're in the middle, you're okay. No, it's, I got to love her like Christ. That's a whole different level, right? Like, that's a level that's difficult to reach in any kind of context. But that's where I got to stop and say, man, like, did I just say that? And then a lot of times I'll apologize publicly to the kids that, hey, the way I handled that, the way I came back and spoke, with mom, that wasn't right. I should have been more understanding. And so I think that's also a part of leadership spiritually, is knowing that, hey, we're going to screw it up. But when we screw it up, how do we respond, and what do we show the kids when we screw it up?
Yeah. Dude, that's so good. I love that you brought the humanity into it, because I think sometimes people could watch from a distance and then compare like what we say to what they do. And it's like, dude, I've never, my kids is 18 now, and I've never given them a gratitude journal. Like, I'm 9 years behind Paul, So I love that you brought the humanity into it, because I've witnessed you do that with the girls. Not that situation with Peyton, but like, I've heard that before. And you're like, did you read your book, or did you journal? Like, no, or yeah. And like, oh, well, is what it is. And I love that, because I think for me as a dad, I'm always trying to figure out, I'm trying to balance this, like dad's been blessed to be a blessing. So I want to bless my kids, but I know, like, blessing the kids doesn't mean giving them everything that they desire or ask for, right? And I think especially, with moms are a little bit more lenient on that. So there's even that balance in that relationship, trying to go, like, you can't just spoil them, because we've all seen stories of like what happens to the spoiled kid. It's like, well, they blow their inheritance, or they just weren't grateful for it. And then you have all the people around them kind of like, dude, spoiled. Here's the spoiled son coming in. Didn't earn anything. And so you never want your kids to be that. And so I've learned that lesson from you, is that, teaching my boys like the value of gratitude, the value of earning something, right? But I just love the practical wisdom, like reading a book is how you get paid. Because for me, it was chores, right? So it was like clean the windows, take out the trash, mow the lawn, clean the house, whatever it was. And that's how I earned my money growing up, which I still don't think is a bad thing, but it's not. But what it does, or what it could do, is plant the seed that you gotta you have to do physical labor to then earn the money, right?
Yeah, that's the concept. Like is like,
which is probably why I'm a janitor. Right.
Well, you're not just a janitor,
but
but I think like to me the conversation is like, hey, you do chores because you're part of the family,
right?
And the reason why the pay is tied to that is because the underlying lesson is like you get paid to personal growth. Like the best investment you can make is in yourself. Yeah. And so like that's the whole concept is like money's going to come when you personally grow, not necessarily when you're just doing like a 9-to-5 kind of activity. Yeah. But the other thing I want to point out too, because I thought about this when you were talking, that I sat back and I did it with Peyton, and I've really kind of messed it up with Parker, is like we had a phone time limit on where it would shut off her phone at 6 p.m., and then she couldn't go back on her phone until 7. And I think to lead the kids spiritually, that has also to do with the question of, well, what are the greatest distractions that are consuming them that's causing a division from the oneness of God? And I think the iPads and the phones and stuff like that creates the greatest division spiritually, because most of the consumption from that is all about self. It's entertainment, it's pleasure, it's all these dopamine hits and stuff like that. And so I think having some good structure where it's like, all right, you only have so much phone time, and you can set it up on the kids' phones, with like how much time they can spend on the social media, and then also how much time that, when does it go off, the time limits. And I think that's such an important thing to lead them spiritually, is making sure that when you're trying to lead them spiritually, that they're not hearing it because their ears are so clogged with all this consumption that they've put into their mind through these social media platforms or iPads and iPhones.
Dude, I love it, man. That's something that we're currently navigating. Like, they don't have phones, but they got iPads, and I see the bad habit forming, right? And it's like,
tough, dude.
And it's tough as a parent, because it's like, we all preach, like, don't give the kids iPads, but then the first thing you want to do when they're acting up at dinner is like, dude, someone give that kid an iPad, bro. Like,
go give a stranger kid an iPad. Here, God bless you. Yeah.
I remember I told the story one time. We went to a restaurant. It was all of us, dude. When we go out to eat, we shut the corner of the restaurant down. People flee from us, like the Exodus, when you come in with 12 kids. But I remember there was like two girls sitting at the table next door, the early 20s, and all of our kids were like on iPads. It's like finally we got some peace. And I just remember like the judgment coming from that table. Like, and I heard one of the girls say, like, when we're parents, we're never going to look at that. They were pointing us out. And I just remember thinking, like, dude, they got no idea. But it's just it's this tension that we live in as parents to want to raise them in the right way, but yet shut them up sometimes. And so I love the answer, man. Dude, I think that was good, bro. We could probably go all day.
Let me get one more for you. Yeah, let me just pick one more. And I'm looking out into the abyss. It's not like I'm not asking God to give me the question. It's on this TV screen right here.
This might be I don't know. Let's pause it to the next one.
Let's see here.
Let's see. Hey, let us know if you like this. Put it in the comment if you like Q&A. Going back and forth. And what's a question that we can answer?
I like this one here. If someone feels stuck in life, what's the first step they should take to level up?
Ooh. That's good. Number one, admit you're stuck. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I think sometimes just getting to a place in life where you go, I don't know what the next answer is. I don't know where to turn. I think sometimes, especially as men, like we internalize so much stuff, and we hold it in. We put on the front, like we put on a big smile, but on the inside we feel stuck.
Yeah.
Stuck in relationship. Like, dude, my marriage has been like this for 5 years. I don't know how to make it better. Like I've tried, but I'm just like, you're literally stuck, or I'm stuck financially.
I love that. So basically just say, I admit it.
Admit like you're stuck. I think like what's the first rule of AA? Like what do they say? Like hi, my name is Branamier, I'm an alcoholic, or whatever they say. Like I'm admitting my problem. Like I think pride stops a lot of men, especially. Like we don't want to admit that we're wrong or we made a bad decision. So I think number one, admitting, but number two, getting the right voices to then speak into your situation. So, which is why I'm a big advocate of church, not for religious reasons, but I believe that the community aspect of church is, there's nothing like it, dude. There's nothing like getting around other people from many different walks of life. Because like when you're in a business setting, it's like most people, they have different backgrounds, but they have one goal to be there, right? It's like to make money, to provide. Yeah. But when you're in a church setting, like, dude, everyone is like there to serve one another, to be a blessing, to give and to receive, to honor God. So it's just like a different setting. So that's why I'm a big advocate of like getting in a local church, whether it's a big church, small church, it doesn't matter. Like, get in a life-giving, healthy church, because in a community like that, you can go to a brother and say, dude, I'm stuck. Like, have you gone through this, or do you know anyone else who's gone through this? And it's not that you're going to get all the answers, but I think it just begins the process of like getting out of the mud. It's like, you ever seen a truck get pulled out of the mud?
Yeah.
It's like, well, most of the time the truck or the car is stuck because they made a bad decision, right? Or they went on a road they weren't supposed to go on. And now they find themselves in a situation that they cannot get themselves out of. So they need someone in a better position or a stronger vehicle to pull them out.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it ain't no bike pulling them out. I've never seen a motorcycle pull out a big rig. It's like something bigger or something in a better position is helping them get out of the situation, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing is true in life, man. You need someone in a better position, further ahead, stronger, more capable to help you get unstuck. You can't unstuck yourself. So
I love that,
that's
dude.
what I'll say.
Well, I think you said it well, bro. That was phenomenal. And I know that you've been there for me in certain situations where I feel stuck, and I'm like, hey, bro, what do you think about this? You know, how would you handle this? What's the approach? And it's just getting different perspective, right? You know, I love that whole quote of like, everybody's pretty much as happy as they make their mind up to be. Yeah. I think it just reflects how important what we're thinking is, right? And so if you feel stuck and you're like, man, I just feel anxious, stuck, overwhelmed, like I'm never going to see the light at the end of the tunnel, well, maybe just get around some good people, even connect groups. You know, I remember going to church for the first time and they're like, hey, you want to join a connect group? I was like, I'd rather eat thumbtacks. You're like, no, I don't want to hang out. I got stuff I'm doing. I got, you know, and now I run a connect group on Monday mornings, and it's just great, dude, to be able to kind of, for one, it's great to get unstuck, but then typically the thing that you got stuck in is the very thing that you're going to help other people get unstuck from. Very and good. So, you know, it's a blessing. So even though might have some, you know, negative emotions or limiting emotions because you're stuck, just kind of realize that you're going to get from that. Like, God's never not got you out of that, but you got to take the step to reach out and have some conversations, have some people help. People want to help you too, right? You're best served to serve your former self. And so, and on the other side of that, man, you're going to be able to help somebody else get unstuck. Why? Because 100%. You did it. You're not going to be the person on a podcast that just says, let me tell you how to build a business, and they've never run a business, right? You could say, let me tell you how to get from that because I did. So, well, dude, this was great, bro. We'll do some Q&A again next week. Go ahead and shoot us comments. You can DM us on Instagram. You can shoot them in the comment section here. If our eyes can see it, we'll read it, and we'll get on. And the goal is to serve you. No better way to serve you than actually answer the question that you have got. So, bro, that was good, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it, bro.
All right, guys, let's go out there, level up. Hey, like, subscribe, share this. That's one way you can get unstuck is share something good, man. You know, share. Hey, if you share this, you might help somebody get unstuck from something that was stated today. So let's go out there, make it a big week. Let's be strong, stay steadfast, and we'll talk to you soon. See you guys.